Hello everyone, a warm welcome and a heartfelt namaste. Relationships, a very strong point, a very important element of life. And so, tithis, which are generally used for muhurta, make a very strong impact in our life. Every person is born on a certain tithi, and that tithi governs his lifestyle as per the relationship. How are relationships important to us? Well, they are the very reason of our sustenance. It is because of relationship that a person feels happy, a person can communicate in a relationship. Relationships are the very basis of our emotional and relationships are the very basis of our emotional sustenance. That keeps us going, it keeps us happy, and it also makes us unhappy. What are the factors that make us unhappy in a relationship? Well, Dagdha Rasi is one of them. What do you mean by Dagdha Rasi? What do you mean by Dagdha? Dagdha means pain or fire. Wherever there is pain, wherever there is fire, there is unhappiness. So, those rashis which create unhappiness for a person are known as Dagdha Rashis. Just to say that they would create unhappiness would be wrong because, as exceptions prove the rule, there are exceptions in the Dagdha Rashis that, in fact, go contrary to making a person feel unhappy and making a person feel very happy, very satisfied in his or her relationships. Let's not talk further. Let's move on to understand what the Dagdha Rashi means and how it operates in a person's life. Dagdha Rasi. Dagdha means pain. A Rasi which is burnt or in pain does not produce good or auspicious results. So, all the tithis that a person is born in has Dagdha Rashi minimum of 2 and maximum of 4 with the exception of Purnima and Amavasya. If you are interested in learning a lot more on this, please do take up my course, which is on Panchang, coming up from the 4th of November. And there is so much more that can be learned from the Dagdha Rashis. As we go ahead, we need to take into account the Tithi a person is born. We need to take down the Dagdha Rashi from Tithi versus Dagdha Rashi table. Those houses where the Dagdha Rashi sits would be very affected. Some of the effect will be carried by the Lord of the Dagdha Rashi where it goes. So the Dagdha Rashi in essential forms a very strong signification in defining the relationship of a person. For example, let us take up Leo ascendant. The 4th house and the 9th house is the houses of Mars, a yoga karaka, and hence Mars as a yoga karaka gives very beautiful periods, very beautiful results during its dasha bhukti. However, for a person born on Dashami Tithi, that is the 10th Tithi, then the house which is Scorpio, and house owned by Mars, the 4th house becomes a Dagdha Rashi or a zero Rashi, and a zero planet, Mars, would not be able to produce good results. So, what are the factors that affect the Dagdha Rashi? The house where the Dagdha Rashi falls loses their power or it gives results only after very strong efforts are put in. Same goes where the Dagdha Rashi Lord gets deposited. Trikona and benefic planets always do good. But if they come under the Dagdha Rashi, it never happens. This is a concept that has been brought in force by late Sri Seshadri Iyer, and it has worked beautifully, magnificently in defining why one faces a lot of flake in relationships while others do not. So, what are the exception rules of Dagdha Rashis? These houses, Dagdha Rashis, do not have the power to give good results until and unless their Lord is retrograde or there is a retrograde planet sitting there, or they fall in 3, 6, 8, 12 houses, or if they have a malefic sitting there, or the house lord is conjunct a malefic. If they're placed in stars which are strong in nature, which can give very cruel results, in that case, the Dagdha Rasi loses all its maleficence and, on the contrary, ends up being a benefic. So let us take up a chart or two and see how this Dagdha Rasi works. Marilyn Monroe was an American actress, model, and singer. Famous for playing the comic blonde bombshell characters, she became one of the most popular sex symbols of the 1950s and was emblematic of the era's attitude towards sexuality. Although she was a top billed actress for only a decade, her films grossed 200 millions by the time of her unexpected death in 1962. Well, this was quite little as compared to what her contemporaries were being paid. And as much as she had worked, she deserved far more. But the Dagdha Rasis or the Tithis, which also represents one's wealth, will tell us why she had to face a lot of flake from Fox Studios. More than half a century later, she continues to be a major popular cult icon. So, she was born on Krishna Shashti. For Krishna Shashti, the Dagdha Rasis are Aries and Capricorn. Let us keep this in mind that she has Venus, which is sitting in a Dagdha Rasi in her chart in Aries itself. Venus is the Karaka of sex. It is also the Karaka of love. Venus is the Tithi Lord, and it rules the Tithis because it is the elemental Lord. Let us go ahead. Planets which are extremely important here are Venus and Mars. Venus as the planet of element of Tithi and as a planet assigned to Sashti Tithi becomes doubly potent. As Venus is posited in a Dagdha Rasi, it is potentially disastrous for relationships. I'll take a word again over here to remind you that the ascendant here is that of Cancer, and for Cancer Rasi, this Venus becomes the 11th lord, becoming a Badak, so becomes a lot more potential in a disaster. When we take on the second Dagdha Rasi of Capricorn, Saturn, the lord of Capricorn, is retrograde in the 4th house. So there is some respite at that end. Mars is the planet assigned to Nanda division of the Tithi, and Nanda is what Shashti is ruled by. Mars, being the lord of a Dagdha Rasi and is placed in the 8th house, also has the potential to create problems. Adding to the woes, Mars, the dispositor of Venus, is placed in the 8th house, the house of sex, scandals, and sudden events. On a subtle level, it is placed in Urva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, a very difficult energy to handle, which always vibrates with a lot of nervous energy. Venus aspects the 4th house and also activates it. 4th house relates to safety, emotions, security, and home. There's always a retrograde Saturn sitting there for Marilyn Monroe in the 4th house. This would also be unstable, would be dualating, would not create a loving home for her because Saturn, in its direct form, represents stability, long lasting. In its unstable form, it represents duality, it represents instability, and it represents change at every form. These points in itself should let us know that the relationship would not be fruitful for her, and most of them would originate from her workplace. Why so? Because Venus is placed in her 10th house. Venus is placed in the 10th house of profession, and it is aspected by the natural 10th Lord Saturn in its retrograde form. So it does not provide that amount of stability, that amount of strength that it could have had it been aspected by a direct Saturn. However, since Saturn is retrograde and the ruler of a Dagdha Rasi, it did help her form very strong relationships, but being retrograde, it did not allow. But Venus, being so afflicted, could not have sustained those relationships, and they were the very death of her. She also could have been paid much more as that of her contemporaries because, as I said earlier, Tithis also represent wealth. But she was not paid because of her differences with Fox Studios, with whom she had signed contracts of not moving on to other studios. Dagdha Rasi of Capricorn contains Moon. Moon is her Lagna Lord and so affects her to a great extent. Venus, which also represents the wealth factor because it's the 11th Lord for her, she was often in arms with Fox Studio for her payment and the treatment for her. All in all, we see that the Dagdha Rasi were her breaking point in relationships for a lady who climbed up stellar heights from very small and very humble beginnings. The next example that I take is a happy one. It's that of Vishwanathan Anand, Indian chess grandmaster and a former world chess champion. Vishwanathan Anand became India's first grandmaster in 1988. He held the FIDE World Chess Championship from 2000 to 2002. He became the undisputed world champion in 2007 and defended his title against Vladimir Kremen in 2008. He was also the first recipient of Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award in 1991-92, India's highest sporting honor. In 2007, he was awarded India's second highest civilian award, the Padma Vibhushan, making him the first sports person to receive this award. Vishwanathan Anand, in his career, is said to have made relationships with people who have been from very diverse areas of life, who have had differences amongst themselves, and yet he has been loved, looked upon with a lot of affection and a lot of respect by people whom he has worked with, by the people in his family, and also by those who have known him from afar. A very humble man, a very low profile person, as per his wife, Vishwanathan Anand has made it big not only in his professional world but also in his personal world. Let us check out how it has happened for him. The Dagdha Rasis for him happen to be that as being born on Shukla Tritiya, his Dagdha Rasis are Leo and Capricorn. Well, Capricorn is his Lagna. How does he have a Dagdha Rasi which is so much that of his Lagna? The answer lies in the fact that his Lagna Lord or the Lord of his Dagdha Rasi is debilitated in the fourth house in and also it is retrograde, thereby converting the Dagdha Rasi into a positive zone. Moreover, Dagdha Rasi also holds Gulika and Mandi, and that works superbly for him as far as his wealth and as far as his relationships are concerned. The second Dagdha Rasi, that is Leo, contains a planet which is retrograde. It contains Ketu. Rahu and Ketu in Dagdha Rasi make it strong, make it positive. So, on further analysis, we see planet Mars as the planet assigned to Tritiya, and that is placed in the second house with Rahu. So, giving him wealth, and relationships which are of different kinds, which are with foreigners, foreign wealth, foreign relationship, and a strong one at that. Dagdha Rashis are Leo and Capricorn, which we have already discussed about. This Dagdha Rashi becomes a very positive sign for him. Saturn, the Lord of Capricorn, a Dagdha Rashi, is retrograde and is sitting in the fourth house of masses. So, this debilitated retrograde Saturn makes the Dagdha Rashi, in fact, a very strong, a very positive one. Jupiter, the lord of the Jaya division of Tithi, gives much support because he is the lord of the 12th house of international fame and the third lord of hands, third lord of courage and initiation. All in all, a very beautiful scenario for Vishwanathan Anand. If you have liked the video, please do share it, please do forward it to others so that others too can learn. If you want to learn all this in detail or would like to take a consultation, please do visit my website into the courses and the consultation sections. Till we meet again, stay safe, stay happy, and wishing everyone in life beautiful relationships.